Hey guys, TechSnackles, and today when we talk tablets, the first name to pop into most people's heads is iPad. And this year, Apple introduced a new iPad with a fresh new look unlike the previous 3 generations that followed the iPad 2's model. Along with the new look came a new name that reflects on that design, and today I'm here with a review of the iPad Air. So the first thing you'll notice when picking up an iPad Air is how much thinner and lighter it is compared to its predecessor. Now, it basically resembles an iPad mini design and in fact just looks like an enlarged iPad mini with more rounded angles than previously. It has also got a smaller, 43% smaller bezel in comparison to the previous generation. Now this thing is really thin, it's 0.29 inches, and that is the same as the new iPad mini with Retina display. Now this one is also a little bit shorter, 0.1 inch shorter than the previous generation iPad. If you're coming from an iPad mini, you won't really notice and appreciate these changes, but if you're coming from a previous iPad generation, then you'll really appreciate how slimmer and lighter it is. It only weighs 1.05 pounds. That is really light, 30 pounds lighter than the previous generation. Both these factors, lightness and thinness, aim at one thing: portability. iPads are easy, accessible, productive tablets, so people want to carry them around. And Apple has nailed the portability of the new iPad Air, making it the most thinnest and lightest full-size iPad yet. It still packs the same beautiful Retina display that in my opinion is still one of the best displays made till date, but the inside has been upgraded. It packs the latest A7 processor just like the iPhone 5s from Apple with the M7 Motion coprocessor. So what's special with the A7? It is 64-bit, and this in an iPad can really show its potential, allowing more graphic heaviness along with smoothness. This also helps iOS 7 flow smoothly in the new iPad, but some bugs are still there, like the rotation confusion one, and it's still not a very good experience on the tablet, but in the iPad Air it's much more responsive and snappier than in the previous generation iPads, which the experience is horrifying in all honesty. Right now it's quite hard to take advantage of the 64-bit processor, but once apps start to get adapted to this 64-bit architecture, you should really notice a much better increase in graphic intensity as the same in smoothness. With all this power, you must be wondering, what is battery life like? Well, Apple has promised the same battery life as it did with the previous generations, and people have been reporting good battery life. For me, that is kind of yes and a no. It is still good. It still lasts obviously almost a full day with one single charge, but it seems to tend to lose more battery when it's not in use in comparison to previous generations. I can wake up with 100% and at night go to bed and just have half of that, even though I haven't really been using it, with just probably browsing it for a little bit, which is a little bit disappointing, but nevertheless lasting a full day is still impressive for the capabilities of the iPad. One thing to notice on this new iPad, and that is a really big welcome, is stereo speakers. They are finally here for the iPad, but both are at the bottom. This means that the sound will kind of come out a little bit muffled, and it's not really taking advantage of those stereo speakers unless they can really change it to the front, or maybe one up and one down there. Right now, you won't really notice much of a difference. Now, one of my biggest disappointments with the iPad Air is that there is no Touch ID, so you should really expect the iPad Air 2 to have Touch ID, because Apple's just going to do that. They're going to slightly upgrade the insides and introduce Touch ID with the iPad Air 2, because it's just what they do. But not bringing the iPad Air, come on Apple, please, you should have done this. The iPad Air could have been much more appealing as well if it had the Touch ID with this slimness. And the camera at the back is also not that good. I know taking photos with an iPad and a big ass tablet is a bit weird and it's not really that normal, but some people still do, and Apple is trying to promote the iPad as more productive than people think it is, but the camera is still not that bad. You still cannot take a lot of photos simultaneously as an iPhone 5s can take. You still can take a lot of photos, but not as quick as an iPhone 5s can. The camera quality is pretty bad, and there's also no slow-mo video. If you want to take a little bit of slow-mo video and edit it later in iMovie and be awesome, there is not that option. Nevertheless, Apple updated its front-facing camera, the FaceTime camera, to a FaceTime HD camera. It now records 720p HD video, so it's basically perfect for FaceTiming if you do that. Now, despite those downsides that Apple probably improve with the next generation iPad Air, the iPad Air is still a very strong and more free choice to consider as a tablet for anyone. It is what Apple is trying to do, is make that the iPad Air looks very productive, and it is productive. You just gotta get the perfect apps. And that's why Apple is shipping these products now with iWork and iLife for free. The iPad will probably be the #1 choice for many people for Christmas, and I don't blame them. Apple has taken a great tablet and improved it radically, giving it a 64-bit processor and still managed a massive slim down. It is the best full-size iPad yet, but it will be interesting to see how it deals with the pressure of Android tablets closing the gap on the iPad, and also how it will help Apple acquire more share of the tablet world as it keeps decreasing for them. The iPad Air retails starting at $499 for the basic 16GB configuration, all the way up to $929 for 128GB and cellular, and comes in space gray and silver. Picking tablets nowadays really comes down to which OS you prefer and if you are already in the Apple ecosystem, which in that case, choosing between an iPad Air and Mini will be your biggest and hardest decision. If you own an iPad 3 or iPad 4, I don't really see why you should really jump into the iPad Air. Maybe wait another year until more features are introduced, but if you're coming from an iPad 2, this is an obvious upgrade if you're interested in it, or an iPad 1 even. I myself would rather go for an iPad mini with Retina, but that's a story for another video. So for now, that has been the review of the new iPad Air. Be sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next video.